Hello and welcome to another video. This is my February backlog update. So I'm going to run through the games that I managed to clear off the backlog in February and talk a bit about them, show a bit of gameplay footage and all of that good stuff. It's a little bit late just because my wife and I were away on holiday, which is very good, but it's just delayed me getting this video out slightly. And it did mean that I lost about a week of gaming in February. Still managed to get through a few games though, and we'll dive straight into them now. So first up on the Xbox 360 was Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed.
Stop the assassin! What are you doing? Move! Keep up with him! Don't let him get away! Stay on it! Out of my way!
So I think I may have played this for kind of half an hour back in the day on someone else's Xbox, but I've never kind of properly played through the game before. And I'm now quite a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series, especially the more recent ones. So I know a lot of people prefer the original format. I actually really like the new RPG open world formats of the games. Especially Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is one of my favourite games of the generation. I really do enjoy those games, but I have played Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is kind of the original, more traditional stealth-orientated style, and I really enjoyed that game as well. So yeah, I thought I'd go back, see where the series began. I own a lot of the games throughout the series that I've just never got around to playing. They're all on the backlog, so I thought I'd start at the beginning. It is a bit dated, I'm going to be honest. They've certainly refined, even sticking with their original style of the stealth gameplay, more linear gameplay. They have refined that gameplay. This game is a little bit rough around the edges. Some of the platforming could get a bit frustrating at times. The combat is still quite enjoyable, but it's quite simplistic. Graphically, I think it still looks fine. It holds up fine. There was nothing wrong with that. Just the kind of missions and things you were doing as well, especially the side missions, became a bit repetitive. So straight up front, I'll say I didn't finish this game. I DNF'd it. I'm going to DNF games that I feel I've got what I want out of them, or if I'm just not enjoying them that much anymore. And I put about 8 hours into the game. I don't know if any more cities unlock, but I went to the 3 main cities at the start of the game, did the assassinations in each of those 3 cities. And then the next kind of section of the game was to go back to those 3 cities again and do 3 different assassinations. And if I didn't have other games to get to, I would have been perfectly happy playing on with the game. But I'd started the next game I'm going to discuss after this one, and I was just far more inclined to play that game than this one. So I thought, I've seen what it's about now, we're going to retire it. But for anyone that hasn't played it and enjoys the Assassin's Creed games, I'd say it's worth going back to check, and it may well be that you enjoy it enough to play all the way through. If I was going to score it, I'm not really scoring games that I don't finish, because I can't judge the story and all that kind of thing. But I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10 game. It holds up pretty well. It's just not as polished as the later games in the series. So, very glad I played the game. It's off the backlog now. And it has encouraged me that I do want to play the Assassin's Creed 2, 3, Brotherhood, the Ezio trilogy, and moving on from there, because every video I've seen on the Assassin's Creed series says that Assassin's Creed 2, the second game, is where the series really finds its stride and its identity, and by all accounts it's a much better game than Assassin's Creed 1. So having relatively enjoyed Assassin's Creed 1, I'm quite excited to dive into Assassin's Creed 2. So that will come at some point, probably not for a few months, but it's there to move on to. Right, next up in the month of February, the game that very much distracted me from Assassin's Creed, and is one of the reasons I DNF'd it, because I just found myself wanting to play this constantly, and that is Metro Exodus. So this is the 3rd game, as far as I'm aware. I've played the first 2, which is Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. Both fantastic games, and this builds on those games in basically every single way and adds new elements to them. So for those that don't know, you'll probably be able to gather by the gameplay that I'm showing, but they are kind of They have elements of survival horror to them. You have limited ammo. You're often fighting in kind of poorly lit, claustrophobic environments, and you're fighting some enemies that are kind of like mutants and kind of what can be considered kind of horror type enemies. It's not a full-on horror. I never found myself kind of wanting to stop playing because I was too stressed like I do with games such as Dead Space. But it's horror light. So for anyone that doesn't really like survival horror games, which is or finds them difficult to play, like me, I'd say this game is a really good kind of horror light game. It gives you those horror elements, but it's not that stressful to play through. So it does have the lack of ammo. You will find yourself running out of ammo fairly often. You have to be conscious of how you're using it. You can't just kind of spray your bullets everywhere. You have to kind of aim your shots and take your time and make sure to explore to find kind of ammo pickups and crafting materials and that type of thing. But Metro Exodus, so the first two games take place in the metro, hence the name Metro, so the subway underground tunnels of Moscow. And it's post-apocalyptic, it's after a nuclear war. People can't go to the surface, they can't live on the surface anyway because of the radiation levels, and the radiation has caused mutated creatures and that type of thing. And there was a war for kind of territory within the metro tunnels, so there's still humans fighting one-on-one, like for territory and things. So but you say you're fighting humans, but then there's also mutants and things around that you're fighting as well. And Metro Exodus, so this is minor spoilers for the start of the game, but I think it's very obvious. The trailers and stuff show you out in the open world. So the start of Metro Exodus is you basically commandeering a train and leaving Moscow. So up until this point, as I say, minor spoilers, but it's all in the trailer, so I don't think it really is. But if you really don't want to know, skip this section. So up until this point, you thought you were basically all alone. You didn't think there was really anyone left in Russia, in the country, and I think maybe even the world, they think, apart from their enemies. But then you realise that there's actually a lot of life out there. There's a lot of communication. There's pockets of kind of humanity that have set up societies and culture and things like around settlements. So you go off to explore and try and find a new home, basically. And the basic process of the game is you going from place to place along the railroad, trying to find sanctuary, trying to find somewhere that's safe to live, and trying to meet up with other like-minded people and create a kind of settlement, create or join a settlement, effectively. And each stop along the way is kind of mini open world sections. So you'll arrive at a place and it'll be like an enclosed sandbox environment for that area that you're exploring, and there'll be various side missions as well as the main missions to do, and you can just kind of wander around or drive around and explore that area of the game. And once you complete that series of missions, you'll get back onto the train, move to a new location, and kind of the adventure will continue. And what I really like about Metro Exodus is that variety of locations. So I enjoyed the first two games in the series very much, but after a while I was getting a little bit bored of kind of the same kind of environments, making your way through subway tunnels, occasionally going up to the surface, but all very cold and dark and the same kind of environments. What I like about this one is you go and explore different kinds of environments. So you're in cold, snowy environments, but in the bright sunshine and things. But you're also in desert environments, forest environments. It mixes it up a lot more than the first two games, and that provides new gameplay opportunities as well, which I really appreciated. But there still is very frequently those claustrophobic, horror-esque type gameplay sequences that there were in the first two games. So if you have played the first two and you're a fan of them and you're a fan of that aspect of it, don't worry, that's still there in this game. It just adds extra elements to that as well. The combat in this game I really enjoyed. The gunplay is basically the same as it was in the first two, but maybe slightly improved. It's very satisfying gunplay. There's crafting elements and things, as I said. You're crafting your ammunition, you're crafting kind of throwables and that type of thing, and you can upgrade your guns and gear and stuff, adding attachments and that type of thing. So they've got that element to it. The story I found really engaging. It's as I say, you're trying to journey through this area to find somewhere safe for yourself. So the game's quite good at forming bonds with your character and the other characters in your party. You've got a wife in the game, so there's a lot of dialogue with your wife and lots of things happens on that front. One of the things that I think could have been improved is the main character isn't voice acted, so you're a silent protagonist, even though on loading screens and things he will narrate, which I found a bit strange. I thought if they're going to hire someone to do the narration, why not have him voice acted? Because it is quite strange in moments when this character's talking to you and you're just not talking back. I do far prefer a voiced character in most situations, but that's just a minor knock. But overall, really enjoyed this game. Couldn't put it down. Played all the way through it. It took me 16 hours to beat. I didn't do all of the side quests and things, and that's one of the things of doing these videos. And I knew I was going on holiday. I did want to make sure that I kind of beat a couple of games to go into the video. I'm not one that normally does side missions anyway, so I probably wouldn't have played it too differently to how I did. I did do a few of them. One of the things as well is completing. So each time you move on from one of these sub-open world areas, depending on the number of side quests you do and the decisions you make in terms of action, so you can decide whether to be a good or a bad person, basically, like you can in a lot of games. That will depend who in your party stays with you or moves on. So you will lose or gain characters as you go through your journey, which at the start I didn't realise. So I didn't realise that was going to happen, and then I lost a character that I didn't expect to lose. But that's quite a nice element to the game, I think, as well. Your actions do actually have consequences. There are multiple endings to the game. I think I got a good ending. I don't know if I got the absolute best ending, but I got a reasonably good ending. So there is a little bit of replay value there as well. Apart from it just being a really fun game to play, you can get different endings. So there's different ways of playing through the game, which I think is good. And when I got to the end of the game, I enjoyed the game so much that I wanted to buy the DLC. So there's two DLCs for the game. I've forgotten what they're both called now. One of them's definitely called The Two Kernels, because I've started that one and I can't remember what the other one's called. But luckily, as soon as I finished the game, I thought, oh, I want the DLC. Went onto the store, intending to buy it kind of whatever the price, and it was on sale for kind of £2. So I picked up both bits of DLC, and they will be played through at some point. I'm not going to count them as backlog games because it's DLC. But yeah, I'll play through them at some point. I enjoyed the game enough to go back and go through them. So all in all, I don't know if I've given a rating yet. I give this game a 9 out of 10. I was really impressed with this game. It was kind of all of the elements that I'm looking for in a first-person shooter game. It's got those light horror elements, great graphics, good story, good gameplay. It plays with quite a few ideas that other games don't. Yeah, I thoroughly recommend this game. And I think you could probably quite easily play this game if you haven't played the first two. The story does carry through, but I think you can probably get a grasp of what's going on without having to play the first two, or just kind of watch a catch-up video on YouTube or something if you don't want to play through the first two games. Though I do recommend them as well. They're really good games in their own right. Next up. So as I say, we were going on holiday, I wanted to get another game done quickly. So I had at least one more game off the backlog for the month of February. And the game that I chose, just because of the short length of it, was Bright Memory. So I don't know, I don't think this is a very well-known game. I'm not sure a lot of you will know what this game is. But it's on the Xbox One, and it was developed by just one guy, and it's a very, very short game. It's basically a tech demo to show... I think the guy basically just made it to show what he could do and maybe get some funding and stuff. I'm not sure. I haven't kind of researched it. But the actual game itself is only about half an hour to 40 minutes long. It doesn't really make much sense in terms of story at all. It's just lots of action. So it's kind of a third person run and gun shooter slasher fast-paced combat game. It's kind of like Vanquish and those type of games, but slightly different. So yeah, the game is very much action focused. The graphics are really good considering that it was made by one person. And I say the first run through only took me about half an hour to 40 minutes to beat. But to get all of the achievements, which I figured I may as well do because it's such a short game, you've got to do 3 playthroughs. So I did an extra 2 playthroughs on top of the first one, and the total took me about 2 hours, and that's for the 1,000 gamer score. And yeah, it's as I say, it's basically a tech demo. I think this allowed the developer, I don't know if he brought more people on for the second game, but he's made a sequel, which I think is a bit longer than this one. But you can see that there's the beginnings of like a really well fleshed out game if they had the budget and the manpower to kind of add more to it. It's, as you would expect, a little bit rough around the edges, but in terms of the moment-to-moment gameplay, it's actually a really good, well-polished game. I really enjoyed my time with it. There's a couple of bosses during the kind of 30-minute playthrough. There's a few different environments. There's throughout the game, there's like upgrades and things that you can do, so your gameplay and your abilities are actually constantly changing. And I personally think it's quite nice to just have a game occasionally that only takes you a couple of hours. I played through this the 3 times in one night. Just sat down for an evening, enjoyed the game, and it's done, move on. Kind of like watching a movie or something. So that was that one, and I give that one a 7 out of 10. So it's not anything crazy, but I think it's only a few quid or a few dollars to pick up. It's not an expensive game. So I would recommend it if you're a fan of these types of games and you want just a short game as kind of like a palate cleanser in between larger games. And that's exactly what this game was for me. So those are the 3, well, I didn't finish Assassin's Creed, but those are the 3 games that I kind of finished in the month of February. And while we were still in February, I started a new game which I'm playing through now in the month of March, and I went back to a bigger game for this one, and that is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. So this is the Xbox One version, so it originally came out on the Xbox 360. I'm playing through the upgraded version on the Xbox One, where I think they upgraded the graphics slightly. I think they did add some kind of quality of life improvements, and it's got all of the DLC included as well. So at this point now, kind of a week into March, I'm about 10-12 hours into the game. So I'll do a full review at the end of this month, assuming I finish it this month. It's quite a beefy game, so maybe it might be April. But I'll give my quick first impressions now and a bit of gameplay of the first few hours of the game. So far, really enjoying this game. So I'm realizing more and more I am definitely a kind of like an action RPG fan, as opposed to CRPGs or JRPGs. I like the action. So on a tangent, at the start of the year, I was playing through Baldur's Gate. And even though I can appreciate that is a fantastic game, very high quality, extremely well written, extremely well made, everything's good about it, I'm just not a huge fan of the slow-paced action, like taking turns to make decisions, having to think about strategy. I'm far more a fan of action gameplay. So Dragon's Dogma now is hitting the spot for me. I'm really enjoying it. I think the combat is quite fun. I'm now 10 hours in. I'm starting to kind of get lots of new abilities and upgrade them and that type of thing. And the combat's really starting to flesh itself out. And I'm kind of starting to explore the world. It seems like it's a massive world. I've been exploring for about 10 hours, and when I zoom out on the map, it's kind of a tiny section of the map. So I think I am going to be in this game for quite a long time, and I am doing the side quests and things in it at the moment. So yeah, maybe March, probably more likely April by the time I get through with it. But one of the things I'm really enjoying, which I've not seen in any other game, is the pawn system. So this is when you start your game, you have your character and you have a pawn, but it's another character that's basically your backup, a character that travels with you and goes on your adventure and helps you in combat and that type of thing. But what's really clever about the way they've done this is you can also have 2 more pawns who you hire as you're walking around the world. So you can get rid of one and hire a new one, depending on what kind of abilities you're looking for on certain quests and that type of thing, and what level they are. And these pawns are other human players' pawns that are on the server that you can basically hire to come into your party. So my pawn is going out and being used by other people, and each time I log on, it will come back saying your pawn has gained this knowledge of this quest line. So, which is going to help me when I get to that quest line. My pawn will start, who's called Papillion, by the way, Papillion will start shouting out advice as she's been on this quest with someone else. So that's a really enjoying that system within the game. It's keeping it fresh. I've changed out the pawns a few times. And it kind of it gives you an inkling of other builds and things you can do, because you can see how people have set up their pawns. And it is very useful. So when I'm going to a new quest, I'll go into like a town or something. I'll look for pawns that are a higher level than me, or kind of around my level. So there's a reasonable chance that they will have done the quest that I'm about to go on. And then during that quest, they will shout out. They're not kind of exact. They're not telling you, oh, there's exactly what's going to happen around the corner. But they'll shout out fairly subtle hints of, oh, I sense danger or something like this. And that will be a clue that something's about to happen. It just helps you navigate the quest a bit more easily. So that system I'm really enjoying. As I say, the combat, the story, everything so far, I'm enjoying. So we will see how we get on with that game, and hopefully I'll be back with an update at the end of March for that one, at the beginning of April. Okay, so that's all of the games that I've played in the month of February. So obviously I beat a few games in February and in January. Before this update, I'd only bought 2 games to add to the backlog. So in this month, I bought another game to add to the collection. And that is this game, one that I've been wanting to add to the collection for quite a while. Because it's quite a collectible, more pricey game on the Xbox 360, so I wanted to get it before it went up in value. And that is, let me try and pronounce it, Dodonpachi Resurrection Deluxe Edition. So this is a shmup, and I haven't played too many shmups, but it's a genre that I do want to try more games in. And spoiler alert, there may be a shooter coming for the March update. Not this one, but a different one. So yeah, I bit the bullet and bought this one. It's not too expensive. I think I got it for, I can't remember if it was 30. No, I got it for, so it was on buy it now on eBay for £40. I watched it, left it for a couple of days, this is a good tip actually, is if you put it on your watch list, the seller can see that you've done that. So I left it for a couple of days, and then they sent me an offer offering it me for 36 or something, 37. And then I put in a counter offer saying I'd give them 34. They came back with 35 and I got it for 35. So that's quite a good tip. If there's a game that you're not like desperate to have, but it's one that you're interested in, just watch the item. And sometimes the seller will send you an offer because they're trying to shift it. And it also came in this very nice, I didn't add this protective case. It came in this very nice plastic case, which I kind of do want for, it would be very nice to have them for all of my games, certainly the pricier ones. But I went on when this arrived thinking it was quite a nice thing to have. And they're really expensive. So obviously you need quite a few of them if you're going to do your whole collection. I've got kind of 600 games, and I can't find them for cheaper than about £1 a piece. So I'm not willing to spend hundreds of pounds just on plastic covers. So if anyone knows of a cheap place to get them, then let me know in the comments, because I do want them. I just don't want to spend that much on them. But anyway, yeah. So this one and the 2 that I bought in the last month are. Let's show a close up. That's the back. Oh, lights everywhere, reflections everywhere. That's the back of the case, and that is the front of the case. So this game and the 2 games I picked up last month that I went through, those won't be added to the backlog list until 2025. So when I do my year review at the end of this year, I'll go through all the games, and these will be added to the new backlog list. So I'm sticking to that. I'm not allowed to buy more than I have beaten. So what I didn't do last time, which I'll remember to do this time, is jump on to the stats. So this is the spreadsheet. So this is all the games we've played, whether I've beaten them, ratings. So yeah, I've just started Dragon's Dogma. I'm not counting that as a backlog game, the DLC, but it's on there just to kind of keep track. And something I've added, so we've played 8 games, or started 8 games at least, which, considering last year I only beat 8 games off the backlog in the entire year is good going, I think, by the start of March. I obviously beat a lot more games than that last year, but they were all kind of new games off Game Pass or something. They weren't actually games off my backlog. So I theoretically, I think I'm doing it off games beaten. So I've beaten 5 games, so I'm allowed to buy 5 games to add to the backlog. So far I've bought 3, which is the one I've just showed you, the shmup, Redout and Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. And then I've also added this. So this is to keep track of both genre of games and platform of games I've played. So it's not an official rule, but I would quite like to make sure I play at least one game in every genre and certainly at least one game on every platform. So far we've started off quite modern heavy. That's just the mood that I've been in. But I am actually starting to crave some of the older systems. So maybe March and April we'll have a few more older games in there. But I'm not going to force myself. I'm just going to play what I feel like playing at the time. And I've got enough games that I think it'll be very easy to find a game that I want to play in each of the genres. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, so that's just a quick overview of the stats. It's all going quite well so far. As I say, 8 games played or still playing, 5 games beaten off the backlog. I haven't been playing new games at all, and I'm not missing it, to be honest. I thought when I started this challenge, it would have to be a sacrifice I made to stop playing games on Game Pass and just play backlog games. I thought I'd feel like I was missing out and sacrificing something, but I don't feel that at all. I'm really enjoying my time. In fact, I might be enjoying my gaming now more than I was. I think I am. There's less stress on, I've got to play this next game that's come on Game Pass. And there are a few new games coming out this year that I probably will pick up and play, but they're more of an event in that case. Then I'm kind of looking forward to their releases more, and it'll be more of an occasion rather than just constantly playing games on Game Pass and things that are technically new, but not games that I've been really hyped about. So yeah, everything so far is going really well. Thank you for watching. As always, please, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'll be doing these updates every month. And I will be dropping some videos in between. I just haven't had the time in the last couple of months. If you've liked the video, drop a like. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithms. And please do let me know what you've been playing this month. What have you beaten? And how's your backlog going? Okay. Thanks for watching. Now on to the next one.